it was this angry face in the midst of just this weird time in like my musical career. And it was just giving me this like reflection, this look at myself. And it was looking back at, like, it's got eyes, it's looking at me. And I'm just like, I thought that was so jarring.
This is Champagne is Also a Band podcast. One songwriter, one song. I'm Sven, your host for a journey into the music of Champaign-Urbana. Recorded in the Blue Box studio with a songwriter from the Champaign-Urbana music scene, past or present. Champagne is Also a Band podcast is proud to be a part of the Champagne Showers Podcast Network. Welcome to Champagne is Also a Band podcast. Today, we're talking to Brayden Beard, and you may know Brayden Beard from his solo project, Where Are The Flamingos? So, Brayden, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Sven, on your awesome podcast. I appreciate it.
Today, we're going to be listening to your song, Tiki Head, and so, without further ado, let's listen to the song.
Well, rap is not music, for one thing. I mean, it isn't music, it's talking. That's what it says, rap. Rap means talking, it's not music. It's talking in meter, it's got rhyme, and it has meter. It has rhythm. It's not music.
Snow, now ringing them bells. Now motherfuckers act like I wanna run around with a tail in my legs. Now what's bound? So hoist up the job, be sail. Get another letter from the cops in the mail. Gonna play another beat, but it doesn't prevail. Gonna play your cards right, I end up in jail. I'm playing these songs, you water your thongs. Keep talking your shit, not paying your wrongs. Tiki will stare right into your soul, right through your eyes and into your skull. So reflection from my tiki head, so it doesn't care. Self-reflection from my tiki head, so it doesn't care. It was a million
Welcome back. So, of course, my first and favorite question to always ask is, what came first? Was it the music or was it the lyrics?
Music definitely came first. I was inspired by like the song Pipeline. There's like 2 chords in the song. I used those chords to make up this song kind of. It was kind of like a creative choice on that end. Yeah, it kind of just came from there. Like once I came up with the beat a little bit and like some of the chords and like the progressions, lyrics just kind of fell into place with that.
Let's talk a little bit about getting the lyrics in place. So
sure.
What was the first thing that you came up with in terms of lyrics?
So like when I write things, I usually try to like to come up with the verse first. Like I just write like a random verse. Personally, like I'll write to like random beats that are like on YouTube or just like there's this guy, his name's Your Best Friend Jibby. He makes like lo-fi beats and like a lot of them are samples and like they're really cool. And sometimes I'll take one of those because there's no lyrics on them, like they're beats, and I'll just kind of just rap over them or whatever and write to them a little bit. And then I'll apply it to like whatever beat I'm making it. This was one of those instances. The idea of the Tiki Head really wasn't a thing until like I wrote the first verse and then part of the second verse. And then I kind of had this moment where I looked over this Tiki Head I had owned for such a long time. It kind of just hit me. It's like, I need to make a song about that. Because when I was writing it, I literally just, it's hanging on my wall. I'm at my desk, I'm recording, and I just look over and it hits me. And it was like a sign from God almost. It was just like a cross that sat on my wall, but instead it was actually this guitar-shaped Tiki Head. I always wondered if I could make a song about that. And then when I was writing this and music was coming together so amazingly, and I saw that, and I was like, it was such a really surreal moment when like you just kind of get that burst of creativity, like when you make something.
What was it about the Tiki Head that like particularly like spoke to you, or was it was just, it didn't specifically speak to you, but it was just like, this means something, and you drew inspiration from it?
So at that point when I was writing this song and like making this stuff, it was a very dark period for me. I was going through a lot of like just like changes in my life personally with my family, friends, and just like me musically as well. Like I was hitting a different point. I had worked on some other music and it just didn't really work out after my second album I had released. Then when I was writing, when I was just kind of pushing through, just like doing some writing and stuff, the Tiki Head really just kind of gave me just like a jolt of momentum. And it was because this Tiki Head I had owned that's on my wall, like I've had it since I was probably like 12 years old, 11 years old. And like the fact that it was like always looking at me and always like, it was the shape of a guitar. And so that I was kind of like at the point of like wanting to quit music or whatever, just take a long extended break. But that look, that angry face, the shape of a guitar was looking at me. And I just thought, no, why should I quit right now? Like this song, when I wrote it, I looked at it as just motivation. I don't know if that makes sense, but like it was just like such a surreal moment of like, I had to choose. Do I quit and just not go forth with what I thought I could do? Or I can just keep pushing forward and make some really cool music. And that's exactly what I did. And like this song was the catalyst of that.
It's interesting how certain moments in our lives somehow just have meaning, even though it's been something that's been there with you for so long. And then all of a sudden it kind of reaches out to you and makes sense for some reason. So when you write your verses, is there a process of that you're actually writing down the verses and then trying them out, or do you just kind of free verse something and then like, oh, that works, so then you start? I'm kind of curious how that all comes together.
It really varies, like depending on the song. So like with this song specifically, it really was just kind of like I was just writing a free verse, just like whatever. It doesn't have a like strict like storyline or plot, I guess you'd say. But then once the Tiki Head kind of like played itself into it, it literally just all kind of came together into one little piece, and it kind of has its own cohesive like story behind it at that point. Like, you know, I take different parts from different things, but somehow they all manage to make sense together, if you understand what I mean.
Well, it's funny because I feel like this piece does that in musically. It does that. Like it takes all these little disparate parts that, I don't know, may or may not work together, but you're blending so many like genres together. It kind of reminds me of some of the ideas behind like Sublime and mix of like some ska, some reggae, some hip hop, and even some punk. And I just find it interesting how you managed to bring those all together. And I guess I want to rewind and go to the very beginning where you use that quote about, you know, rap music, it's not music. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I'm just curious where that came from.
So I always thought it was interesting. Like, I've just heard things from people, clips, and whatever I've heard on the internet. Like, in the 80s and like even the 90s, a lot of people did not consider like rap as like even a genre of music or even music in itself. They just thought of it as something just like slam poetry over beats and like whatever people were doing on like records, like these disc jockeys, whatever. Personally, I never thought of it that way. And then when I heard one of my personal like inspirations, Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, I heard the clip of him talking about how rap isn't music, and that kind of just like threw me through a loop. I was just like, that's interesting. That's really interesting. And it kind of ticked me off a little bit because at the beginning of the second verse, I quote the Grateful Dead, the song Truckin', because I thought it was very interesting when Jerry Garcia said that in the interview in the 90s. Truckin' kind of has a, I guess you'd say, like a rap flow in their song, like the way they wrote it. And I was like, that's interesting. Even like he said that, but he has this moment that you could even compare to rap, I guess. And so I decided to add that in. It's kind of just like, I just wanted to poke fun at the Grateful Dead. And I thought that was very interesting. I'm not afraid to poke fun at like my inspirations because, you know, we're all people and we all make mistakes. And I wouldn't blame anybody judging me if I did certain things in music. Some music purists might be offended by what I do personally, I think.
When you wrote the beats, it sounds like it's an 808 that you're using as like your general sound. How do you bring that together? Like, I'm even curious about what is the mechanism that you're using to generate the 808s? Or do you have like a standalone like synth that's doing this, or are you doing this on right?
Well,
yeah, I know.
So what it is, like the 808s I've been using recently, specific for this one, what I'll do is I'll take a there's this thing called a test oscillator inside of I use Logic Pro. That's what I use to make all my music.
Oh, okay.
There's a test oscillator. It has like this, like, I don't even know what you call it. It's kind of like a ring, but you can change it. If you change the octave on it, it changes to like an 808 sound. And so what I do is I take that and I'll take that sound, I'll sample it, like I'll record the sound, and then I'll take that sound and put it into a sampler, and then I can make 808s with that practically. And I can add effects and do whatever I want to it. It's a really cool system. I just kind of do whatever on my computer.
Well, and one of the things that I was thinking about, you're actually playing the guitar on this track. So you're recording those tracks of your guitar and then sampling them, or like...
So when I record guitar, like sometimes what I'll do is, so I'm not recording on Logic. Like, I am recording on Logic. I'm hooking a mic up to my amplifier I have. It's a Music Man amp, and it's like from the 70s. It's lit. I love it. It's just killer. But anyways, what I'll do is like sometimes I'll either like, not this song specifically, but like sometimes when I record the guitar, I'll just play through the whole song, and then I'll pick out maybe the parts that I thought were really good that I played, or I'll just keep recording the same parts to see what I like, and then I'll take it, and then I usually like sample it and then put it across the song so I can make it sound, I guess, as clean and pretty as possible.
Sure. It's funny because, you know, there's this sense that like, if you're just taking a little snippet and then repeating it over and over, like you've sampled it, but you know, unless you're a band that's doing a live recording, a lot of the times, like the way to save time and to get exactly a good take is just get that good take and then repeat it in the DAW to make it work. There's a nice precision about that, but it also, when you do that, it matches the feel of when you're using sampled like 808 sounds. And so it doesn't, I don't know how to say this, like it doesn't defy itself. So it maintains like a hip hop feel to it. This is one of those things that, I mean, not to get on a soapbox, but hip hop is one of the most popular genres in the world. Yeah. And, you know, I like to say, you know, one of the reasons that it is that way is that it manages to sample like our best. Like it gets the things that are good, and it can span many genres, but also still be hip hop, which I think is what's kind of the joining force in this song. Like this is how you can put it into the song so seamlessly because it holds on to the beat that's going behind it. It somehow makes sense with all the changes that you do. I'm going to jump forward to the guitar solo that you have at the end. I don't want to call it like a bizarre sound, but it does sound as if you're sampling it and then playing with it. So like what I'm referring to is after the second chorus, there's kind of the blast beats and then cooling off period, which I think really works well in the song because it gives a chance for like the ear to reset and like go forward. But then you jump in with this almost all over the place, almost synth sounding guitar solo. So I'm just curious, like, what are you doing there?
All right. Well, Sven. So what I've done with that, it may sound like it's a couple takes on top of each other, but that specific take that I did with the guitar solo, that was one take. And something I did was I have this guitar pedal. It's called a pitchfork. And what it does, it can bring my guitar, if I press the button, I can bring it up an octave or bring it down an octave. And in this specific case, I had brought it up an octave. So like what I can do is while I'm doing a tapping technique, like kind of similar to Eddie Van Halen or Randy Rhoads or whatever, what I'll do is I'll go in and out of a high octave and a low octave, like of the traditional octave. So it's kind of like this little pattern. And someone who did something very similar was Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine, and maybe like The Killing in the Name. It's very similar to that. I got the idea from that, but then I added it to a tapping situation, I guess. And it sounds so cool. It's kind of like a trick that I've learned from using this specific pedal. And like, it's something that I've considered signature to myself, at least. Other people have probably done very similar things. And obviously like Jack White or Billy Corgan or Tom Morello, whatever, they've done similar things with the pedal, but like the tapping technique with that, I wondered if Eddie would have done something like that if he had the ability to. But it was just such a really cool thing, and I've kind of tried to utilize like that effect or like that motion again in some of my other newer works that I'm working on right now.
Yeah,
it's just something that I was like, I was like, wow, I can't believe I actually did something like that, like something that's creative enough and like a guitar solo instead of just like a traditional like rock distorted guitar solo.
You know what's funny is like one of the things I guess is always something that I really like in music, and I'm not really sure I can put my finger on exactly what it is, but the sound of any instrument that I'm trying to put it into good words, but like as if the sound is kind of struggling to come out, and I feel like there's this God, what is it? It's like it's coming through with such force that it's like pushing through a piece of paper or pushing through like a barrier of some kind, and I love that sound. And there's a lot of I can't really think of a perfect example right now, but I'm always like, I'm a big fan of that sound where it's like, it has like almost implied force because it's like you can feel it pushing against some kind of barrier and like it's coming through.
Yes. Okay. I see what you mean with that.
Yeah. It's
breaking boundaries. Like maybe something's like, I feel like what I tried to, I don't know. I like to try to break boundaries in like my music and whatnot. I try to at least. And, getting a little experimental really helps with like just building something really cool.
One of the things that I find interesting, like the contrast, I guess, between the first verse and the second verse, maybe this is my own judgment of how verses work, but I feel like in this piece, the first verse kind of functions as kind of a proving ground, like you are trying to establish yourself and show that you can hold your own. And then kind of the second verse is this sense of like you're letting go, but also exploring and being like kind of not even showing off. I don't even know if that's the right word, but you're experimenting kind of with where you want to go rhythmically, because you're changing up what you're doing rhythmically in the second verse. The established beat behind it is very similar, but you're kind of exploring all the rhythmic qualities that you can do with the second verse, which I think for someone who listens, even though the background music is doing similar things, it gives a new thing for the ear to listen to. I'm just curious about, like, were you thinking about that when you were constructing it?
In a way, and a bunch of my songs, like specifically, like this is a song I've done, it's called Jazzy Nights. What's cool about it was there's flows, but I don't just have one established flow. I kind of just switch up flows so many times in like specific songs. And this one in particular, like I just had the flow, the first verse, like that was the established flow, whatever. And then with the second verse, I kind of just go into two different kind of flows. It really was kind of an experiment of like where I could take it. Because the beginning of the verse, like I said, I stole from the Grateful Dead because it sounded like a rap flow to me. And then I decided to just go into a whole different type of like flow that was a lot faster. What I really like about rap lyrics compared to just like regular lyrics on a song, like someone singing is very melodic. They get the words across, and like there's not as many words as like a rap verse. What I like about rap is like I like to think of it as like it's like very percussive, if that makes sense. The cadences and like the way you say like certain words and like the flow of it is a lot different. I like to think of it as like funk almost, because like funk bass and like let's say like a traditional bass sounds a little different, but like with slap bass they're getting that percussive sound out of the bass while they're playing the melodic notes. So rap kind of does a similar thing with that. And so like that's why I really enjoy it like that, and I really like how you can apply that to a beat. I really just wanted to show like how musical like rap really is because of just like the words. Like I was inspired by like Jerry Garcia saying those things about rap, and I was just kind of like, I don't agree. And I'm a very big Grateful Dead fan, and I just like thought like, all right, well here's this. The gentleman has passed away, but you know, it's something I just wanted to convey in my own music, I guess, because it really it didn't tick me off, but I was just like, interesting. I don't agree with that, and so I'm going to prove you wrong, or at least try to.
I'm kind of curious about the introduction of the ska or reggae like rhythms that you're adding. Is that something that you like to use a lot and like focus on?
Almost all my songs. Like I'm one of those artists that like all my songs almost kind of sound the same. I'll switch up the rhythms a little bit. Majority of my songs are reggae. Like there's some like odd ones out that are just kind of like some like chords and just regular rhythms, but majority of my music is like kind of like a reggae, hip hop, punk fusion almost. But this song in particular, this was like, usually I kind of like to go a little slower. At the end of the song, it's a little slower, like that reggae rhythm. But this one in particular was kind of like a lot more ska rhythm. What's cool about it, the fact that I did this song this way, I've never done it like this specific way, and I'm rapping so fast on it too, but I'll play the guitar live and rap at the same time, and this one is a little more difficult to do, but I got it down to a T. Like I played it the other day. I'm rehearsing for some shows I got going up, and I'm just like, fuck, this is awesome. I love the way I play with this. I like the way I'm rapping on it too, and I'm just like, it sounds so cool. And like this song, when I made it, was definitely a new turning point for me musically and just like how I was doing it. I was like, I felt so good after I recorded this song. I was like, yes, this is exactly what I want to do. And like, there's so many inspirations from all of like my personal inspirations on this. And I just like, it really just came together for me so well.
Let's talk a little bit about the chorus, because that deviates and it does function very much like a hook. You know, usually you have another, like a singer in the background doing something that is a hook, but you're using it as a singing chorus, but then it fits into more of that, I don't know, I almost want to say like nu metal or something like that kind of sound.
Yeah.
What was that decision about, especially since you're kind of returning to, if you want to say like the whole point of the song, right? Like this Tiki Head is the thing that pulled me out of a slump or pulled me out. I'm just curious about like how that happened.
Well, like I said, like when I was writing the first verse, like I had that moment where it just kind of dawned on me, and like this song should be about like the Tiki Head kind of just looked at me, and it was just kind of like a momentous force. It took me back to when I was younger, like to the fact that I didn't even think about Where Are The Flamingos when I was younger, but I was looking at this Tiki Head, and I'm like, oh, interesting. Then I started playing guitar, and I was just like, oh, cool. And then Where the Flamingos comes about, and it's like a very tropical thing. I've always just been a very, I don't know, like my own view of the world, or I guess what you say is just like, I don't know, I'm a very big tropical person, I guess. Like that's just kind of like my safe haven. But even though I live here in Illinois, but ever since a little kid, anytime I visit or whatever, it's just been so inspirational. And there's been so much music that has come out of that. Like just people like writing about their times at the ocean. Anyways, not to get off topic, but like the Tiki Head, 100%, it was just a self-reflection at that moment. It was this angry face in the midst of just this weird time in like my musical career, and it was just giving me this like reflection, this look at myself, and it was looking back at like, it's got eyes, it's looking at me, and I'm just like, I thought that was so jarring. It was just so interesting. So then I used that. I just knew like if I kept doing what I wanted to do, it seemed like I would do really well. I wouldn't fail. That look from that Tiki Head definitely just kind of ignited that fire in me, and I oh man, it was very cool. Like I think this is like personally, Tiki Head is like one of those songs that I just like, I don't think I could ever forget.
And the thing is that there's some memorable parts that you aren't necessarily expecting, and I mentioned earlier kind of that cool off period, but like you ramp up to I want to even call like blast beats, you know, that are going there. But I think that it does that really effectively, where it kind of ramps up to a whole bunch of energy and then it kind of cools off. And then it's like, there comes that force with your solo. I think you do that really effectively to make it give the ear a refresh,
yes.
Which I think, because I feel like if you would go blast beat, blast beat, blast beat, and then just jump right into the solo, I feel like it almost would be too much. But
Agreed.
you give a chance for like the mind to like reset, and then just kind of, you know, it ramps up, drops right off, and then ramps up again. The only thing I can think of is like a roller coaster, right? Like if you were going to get on a roller coaster and all it did was just plummet, 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 you'd just be screaming for like the first 5 seconds, and then you'd be like, okay, yeah, I guess we're falling, you know? And I feel like that gives a new opportunity for it to have that energy.
I kind of thought of it like I guess that blast beat section, like that really like powerful moment. I kind of thought of that as like a pre-chorus. It's not a pre-chorus, but it's like, sure, it's right after the chorus, and it's a pre-chorus into the rest of the song, which is a traditional like one drop beat, maybe like that a lot of like reggae artists would like play. And like, so like that part right there was just kind of just like a transition into like the next part, like a movement into the next part of the song. After the blast beat part, it's just kind of like explosive, and then it drops off, like you said, and like it just kind of has the 808 in the background, and like you can hear some of the stain from the guitar, and then wham, right into the solo. And then it has like the beat kind of on there, and then right after that, it's kind of really chill right at the end.
You know, if you were to look at this song as like a song that is reminding you of why you want to do music in general, or even just as this is a reminder of your inspiration to continue to do music, I still get the sense that there's a seriousness in terms of how you put together the music. There's kind of a fun aspect that I feel like you're trying to convey or to give to other people with the, you know, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I mean, like, yeah. I
don't know. At the end of the day, I feel like people really just want to have fun. Like they just want to have a good time. They want to jam. Just want to have fun at the end of the day, and like that's a really big driving force of it. And like I guess add like a little seriousness to it, but you just got to have fun when you make these things. And if you're not having fun, then like what's the point of even making it? Right. And so like this song was so fun to make, and it was just so energetic, and it just had so many cool concepts in it. It's like that's just so much fun, and that's probably what I love most about music, is like discovering new things, and also just the journey of learning when you do these things as well. And like it's just so cool. I always like to think of like music having these two purposes. It's either this kind of escapist idea where it's just like, I want to just forget about everything that's shitty in the world today. But at the same time, there's music that also helps you connect to those feelings so that you're not avoiding them or whatever. It's like, I always feel like that's, you know, that says a lot about me in terms of how I think about music. But, you know, there's, I want to escape, and then there's also I want to connect. And even within the escape, there is a certain connection too, because I know that you really enjoy performing some of these things live, and I feel like even though it's escapism in some ways, there's a connection to your audience, and like there's the community feeling of everybody enjoying themselves, and I feel like that has such an incredible value in terms of, you know, what music can offer us. That's so true. That's a couple times I played this song live. Yeah, like I guess the blast beat part. I'm not just gonna call it that. So like obviously the song is carrying itself. People are listening. People are there, and people are kind of engaged, and they're kind of like dancing or grooving or moshing or whatever. But then once that part kicks in, people just go fucking bananas. And like I've seen it up close, and it's and I'm going bananas too. Like I'm really strumming really hard, and like it's just such an awesome feeling when people can just really get down with that. And then, like, as soon as that part's over, when I just kick into sustain, like, on my guitar a little bit, I'm about to hit this solo, everyone's like, woo, whatever, and then I go, and, like, yeah, people just go bananas. That's so cool about it. That's how I felt recording it, and then presenting it to people. They're like, holy shit, and they're, like, really getting down with it that way. I'm going to take this opportunity to, like, tell you kind of what my favorite part of the song is, and then I'm going to ask you what your favorite part of the song is. And I think the part that I love about this song is that it changes so much, and it feels so varied, but it kind of takes you on a trip. And then, you know, because you're like, is this, you know, like at the very beginning, you're like, oh, this is kind of this boom bap kind of beat. And then it jumps into like, you got the bongo drums kind of going on there. And then you've got
a reggae beat, and then you've got, you know, some heavy sounds, and the way that it comes together, even though it's these very disparate things, I think is really kind of my favorite part of the song. So
agreed. I think I covered a lot of ground of just different motivations I've had in my life. Like you said, like it starts boom bap, has like that part, but then like go into like a main riff, I guess, or a lick with the bongo. That was really cool because I was just trying to take a lot of inspiration from like 70s rock, and like I really love a good lick, and everyone loves a good lick. Like I think about like The Ocean by Led Zeppelin. But this part, like that part, I really liked it because I was directly inspired by the song Ramble On by Led Zeppelin. And I was like, oh, cool. I'll add that in there. And it's so weird that how many like different bands and genres and like little references and just, I guess, inspirations that are in this one song. Like I was like, wow, it was just a cool part with that. Like, cause it was pretty much directly like inspired by Ramble On. Cause like John Bonham is like hitting like a pad, and I was doing like the same rhythm on the bongo instead. And then I just had a wicked cool riff instead of John Paul Jones going on the bass or whatever. But my favorite part of the song, though, has to be I really just enjoyed the verses I put on the song. Like I really liked some of the lyricism I was using, and just like instead of it also being about my own personal life, it also had just some social commentary on it as well. And I just I really liked the way the song came out. Obviously, I have nitpicks about it, but like I feel like that's anyone with anyone's work. They'll probably always find something like they didn't like when they released it or whatever. It's never going to be perfect.
Why did you pick this song to be the song you wanted to talk about today?
It covers so much ground of like just all inspirations of music I've had in my lifetime. It was such a powerful song. It's got so much variety inside of it with like how much rhythm changes and cool rock elements from all different kinds of decades that you could say. I chose it because I feel like this was a big turning point for me and to keep going. And ever since then, I've been writing better and doing some cooler things since then. So it's definitely a really sweet song, and I'll probably hold it to my heart for a long time.
Champagne is also a band podcast is proud to support Jubilee Cafe. Jubilee Cafe is a free weekly meal program at Community United Church of Christ, 805 South 6th Street in Champaign, Illinois. Jubilee Cafe serves a home-cooked meal from 5 to 6:30 each Monday. Their mission is to feed hungry people by cooking healthy, delicious meals and by serving their guests restaurant-style with servers waiting on tables. Jubilee Cafe is open to anyone who cares to eat with them. Because food insecurity among students is so high, they serve students as well as others in and around the Champaign-Urbana community who struggle with hunger. Meals are free to all and will be served each Monday evening, located in the accessible lower level of the building at 6th and Daniel Streets in Champaign. For more information on the meal or how to volunteer, go to the Jubilee Cafe CUCC Facebook page or email them at jubilee.cafe@community-ucc.org. That's jubilee.cafe@community-ucc.org. Welcome back. So, of course, Brayden, I was wondering, what is your favorite Champaign-Urbana venue, past or present?
Well, my personal favorite, just because I've played there a bunch of times, is the old Canopy Club. They've always been around. I've always heard about them. Even when I was in high school, I had dreamed. I was like, man, it'd be pretty killer to play there. And then I did. I played a bunch of times and even got to play on the big stage once. And I was, man, it was lit. Like I've met so many like amazing artists in there in that sphere, and like it was just cool because I had heard about them, and like I was like, yeah, you're awesome, man. They're like, yeah, I've heard your stuff, and I'm like, really? And I'm like, it's such a it's always been a really cool place. I haven't played there in a while now. That's okay, but like I've had some really awesome shows at that specific venue, and I've seen some really awesome people play there, and like they've had raves and all kinds of stuff going on. So like Canopy Club definitely probably has been my favorite. I really enjoy the Gallery Art Bar too. They're really nice. They're new too, and like they've been open for like what, 2-3 years maybe.
Yeah, I mean they were Blackbird for a while, and then they were Nola's, and so there's been kind of some changes, but I feel like they kind of fit into a nice like this is a nice spot for them to be in, where it's like, you know, they have some visual stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
And then they can have a nice stage, and it's one of those places where you can get like an intimate show. It can feel really crowded, but it's also because, you know, the place can get packed, which is great.
Yeah.
Right? Like it does bring in lots of people. I don't know. I've never seen a bad show there, which is kind of cool.
Right?
You know?
The Gallery Art Bar specifically, they have such like different types of talents coming through. Like I've seen punk shows, I've seen like some interesting rock stuff there. I've seen some hip hop, I've seen some EDM. Like I've seen some like raves kind of things going on there. They do jazz. Like they have like jazz nights. And then also like something I've done a couple times was they have like open mic poetry. And like I'll go up there with some like stuff I've written. That's a really cool thing to connect with people with that. I'm just happy that I can have like access to something like that in Champaign. Like that's amazing. Oh, Urbana, but
Sure.
it's really nice to have that ability to go do that when I do write poetry and whatever, like an extension of like my music or whatever. In fact, like I had written a song. I actually, instead of just reading out like one of my regular poems, I decided to read out the song to everybody because it was some lyrics that I was really like, it was different. Like it was the first time like writing politically, like some political views into like my music. Like there's some, in my songs, I've kind of like sprinkled in some like social commentary or some whatever into my songs. But this one in particular, like the song I read at this open mic poetry, it was just something that was very different. And I got a very positive response on that while reading it open mic. And I just thought that was really nice. It's awesome that you can connect with other people like that are doing the same thing as well.
I'm curious, as someone that raps and also does poetry, how do you think of them differently? How do you feel about the difference in like emphasis, or like how those two function as a performance art, maybe, if you want to say?
It really just depends on the cadences and like what you do with like certain poetry pieces. Like, you know, you have to have like, I don't even know what you call it. Like with rap, I would say like rap lyrics are different because when people are writing, most of the time they're kind of counting their syllables. When I mentioned earlier, like how I thought rap was like a little percussive in a way. And it's because of those specific cadences. Like they have that flow. And when you're just reading that stuff, it's definitely different. You can take it either way. You can attempt to just rap it, just do like a slam poetry rap, or you can just kind of read it in like a little more of a poetic way, I guess you'd say. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
I am no way, shape, or form an expert on any of this stuff. I just kind of do what feels right.
I don't even know how to articulate that, but it's in both rap and poetry, there's definitely an emphasis on the words, obviously. However, the way that they are presented or the way that they are, I don't know. I think maybe in my mind, I'm thinking, well, you can't, I mean, I guess you could, but it wouldn't make as much sense to like extend a syllable. Like you can't hold out, quote unquote, a note, or quote, like if it were in the context of like hip hop, you could hold out like a statement or a scream or something like that. But I don't necessarily hear that happening with maybe read poetry, or I don't know. Anyway, I know that this isn't the place to like explore all that. However, it's also the place to explore all that. So
yeah,
I mean, it's just something that popped into my head. So you are yourself writing two different things when you think about presenting something as poetry versus something musical. Yeah,
because like I will just write random poetry. Something about me, like when I write lyrics, majority of the time I'm writing it down in a notebook. I'm writing it down. I don't know why. That's always the way I've done it. Kind of helps. You could structure it a little bit. I guess I could type it out, whatever, but draw inspiration from like the Beatles. I want to be a paperback writer. That's always just kind of how I've done it. And I feel like song lyrics, like just like regular, like not rap lyrics, but like song lyrics and poetry kind of go hand in hand a little bit. Kind of just been doing the same thing for a very long time. I have so many, like I'll come up with a song idea, but I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually just poetry, really. Like I haven't really added like a melody or anything to it. Certain cadences. You know, there's a book. I can't think of the author off the top of my head, but there's a book called A Light in the Attic. It's a poetry book. It's like a children's like poetry book, and that was kind of like my introduction into just like poetry, I guess, when I was a child. It's been a big inspiration to me for a very long time.
why do I want to say that was like Shel Silverstein?
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
Okay.
Yep.
No, because like where the sidewalk ends and A Light in the Attic or what, I can't remember. But yeah, like how did you get into performing at like Canopy?
They had open mics at Canopy at one point in time, or during the weekdays. And so then one night in 2021, like the ending of 2021, I had gone up there and done an open mic. I just did an acoustic set. Like I had some songs. I actually did an early version of one of my songs in there, and I thought that was really cool. It's like rap lyrics. So like I'm rapping and playing guitar, whatever. And like that, God, that gig was kind of mid as hell. I was just kind of trying to just feel out the vibe, whatever. It was funny when I was setting stuff up. I bent over and like my underwear was showing in front of the whole audience. It was hilarious. My girlfriend got a photo of it at the time. But then a year later, they're still doing the open mics, and I went in there with like a lot of my finished products, including the one I did in the past. They had a DJ. I brought my beats and I brought my guitar and my amp up there, and they're like, who the fuck is this guy? What's this guy doing? They probably thought I was going to play just like random backing tracks, whatever, but I came in with beats. And I went in there and I completely just shredded it. It was interesting. I played like, I went to like a flow state even. Like that was one of my coolest performances. Like just the first night I played at Canopy, or like my official first night at Canopy. After I played, everyone was just like, what the fuck? What was that? That was awesome. That is something about me personally. Like I will tell people, yeah, I make reggae, hip hop, I play guitar and rap, and they're like, oh, okay. And then when they see it, they're like, that was not what I expected at all, dude. Like everyone's so baffled because I can't explain it into words, and like they don't believe me or whatever. So, you know, talk. Sure. Can you walk the walk? Well, I walk the walk for sure. And they're always like, what the fuck? After that one night, I kept playing up there. That night I played, the promoter actually asked me, he's like, we need to get you on a show, and they got me on a show, and it was awesome. And it kind of was just uphill from there.
So let's ask the question, which is, you know, what do you think makes a good music community? Because you've been playing in the Champaign-Urbana music scene for how long?
Like 3-4 years now.
Okay. So like how do you feel about like what makes a good music scene?
I think what makes a really good music scene is when it is a blend of genres, not just like it's a musical gumbo of what's going on in one scene instead of just one specific genre like Nashville or Memphis. They really stick to kind of like a country or rockabilly kind of thing going on with that. Like it's specifically like Memphis or Nashville, like they kind of have one thing. But here in Champaign, we have all different kinds of genres of music that range from rap to folk to rock and roll, indie, punk, whatever, hardcore, metal. It's such a variety of different genres, but almost everyone in the scene is really supportive of whatever genre you do. And like, I think the local support in this scene specifically is just amazing. Like punk bands will support folk artists. I feel like that's just so nice and so refreshing to be super cool with like genre blending and not just staying true to just one specific genre. It's like all different kinds of stuff. I think that's what really makes a good scene, is just having a good mix, just a good mix of everything, make everybody happy.
Often it does feel like there are bills where it really is just a whole bunch of genres that you're like, how did these parts all kind of come together to make this one bill? And I don't know, that's kind of exciting. Just like this idea of, I may go to this one bill just to see this band that I know, but then I'm always surprised at like these other people that I've never heard of that are doing a different genre that of course has its own spin on it. You know, I also feel like that's something in Champaign-Urbana that happens, is like because of the university and like because there's kind of this rotation of people that kind of come in and stay for like 4 years, or they stay forever, or they just go, but they kind of touch on the music scene and it influences it. So there's always like this sense of like lots of genres, but also like fresh blood that kind of comes in, that, you know, they kind of bring these elements from all over, and then all of a sudden you end up with like these very distinct sounds. I don't know. Yeah. It's something that I've always found just like amazing about this area.
100%. Because of the school, like you said, like the university, it brings in all different kinds of people from all different types of places and different values and different just like ideologies and whatnot. It's very cool that we can all like cohesively make inspirations from other people, and like people leave their mark, even if it is just for one semester.
Right.
It really does like add something to the scene that is just like just new blood and new stuff going on. It kind of reminds me of like New Orleans, like just like the culture that's down there, because they have stuff going on from the South, the Bayou, France, and everything. It was a port, and like there's all different kinds of stuff coming in, and like all that kind of comes together in a beautiful gumbo, which they make down there, which is fire. It's kind of same thing here.
It's funny you say that, just because I think one of the things also to add to New Orleans is that there really is, not to give more props to New Orleans than they already have, but but that whole town is focused on music. I remember when I went and visited for, I don't know, we were there maybe like 3 or 4 days, right? You would go out for lunch or something, and there'd be a little jazz, trio that's just playing over the lunch hour.
Yeah.
And you go outside and there's people that are like busking for like, they're just, just a trumpet player, just sitting there doing some tunes. And like, although I have to say, like, the talent level there is so high that I feel like it would be really, really hard to break in. The one thing that I feel in Champaign, though, is there is a high talent level, but I also feel like there's like a low threshold for people to come in and then get inspired by those that have really worked hard to get where they are and hone their craft and like inspire others to get better. Just as a compare and contrast to, New Orleans is like, at least I feel here that there's an opportunity for people to cut their teeth on music and to get better and to just grow, which I think is definitely unique in this area.
100%. Like, I feel so blessed to be in this specific area, because I can't imagine if I was somewhere else, maybe in the Midwest, doing like the music I'm doing right now. I feel like it'd be really hard to even like get shows unless I had to travel to like a big city like Kansas City, Chicago, whatever. Like, but here it's low key. It's very low key, but it's also filled with such amazing talent. I did a show with a buddy once well, he's not a buddy, but he is pretty cool. I actually loved him a lot when I met him. But he was telling me, he was from Wisconsin, and he was talking to me about Champaign specifically. I told him I was from Champaign. We were playing in Decatur at the time. He was on the bill with the same house show I was doing. And he was telling me, he's like, Champaign is like he compared it to like a modern day Nashville, just because it is a very new underground but also like diamond in the rough kind of like music hub. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Like, we have so much like really cool talent here. And like, he was just kind of baffled by like the scene specifically. I mean, he's on tour all the time now, all over the country. Actually, now he's always appreciated the love and also just the artistry and the community of Champaign. I was like, yeah, that's cool, man.
Champaign is Also a Band podcast is proud to support Exile on Main Street. Exile on Main Street, located in the old train station building at 100 North Chestnut Street in downtown Champaign, has been helping to build record collections since 2004. Carrying a wide array of new and used LPs, CDs, and video games. Exile on Main Street has something for just about any music enthusiast and old school gaming devotee. Exile also hosts regular free live music shows on its stage, so be sure to check out their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for the up-to-date details on the next upcoming event. Open 7 days a week, they can be reached by phone at 217-398-MAIN. That's 217-398-6246. Welcome back. So, Brayden, what is your favorite non-musical thing or things?
Well, something I've been doing a lot recently in the past year, I've been doing a lot of fishing. That's something I really enjoy because, for one thing, it helps me connect with nature, and also is kind of like a space where I can just, I guess, disconnect and really focus on things in my life, focus on my music, because like I'll listen to a lot of music out there, and then I also listen to podcasts while I fish and whatnot, and like that's really relaxing. I fish at night a lot, actually.
Huh.
Yeah, like it's weird because like the spot I have, it's a little secret spot, and sometimes people like to go out there. But if you beat them, I can go on the dock. I can have the whole dock to myself all night, and I can just fish out there and catch some catch some awesome catfish, and like that's a great feeling.
It's interesting you like to catch catfish. Honestly, if I were to catch anything, I think catfish would be the one that I would be kind of terrified of catching, because they eat. Obviously, you have to take them off the hook the correct way because they have spines and that kind of thing. And I'm like, that I don't know, because I'm always like, whatever it is, I will do it the wrong way. That's always my thought, because I'm like, I will just slice up my hand. But do you usually like save the catfish, or do you cook them up? Or
so most of the time I am just doing catch and release, just because like it's because I'll be catching catfish that are too small to eat and cut up, and like I want them to grow bigger in the the lake that I'm in. But on the occasion, and quite recently, I caught a really big catfish that I brought home and ate. Like I cooked it up, I cleaned it and cooked it. Oh, it was delicious, man. Oh, dude, like that. And there's something rewarding about that. Just catching something and then being able to cook and prepare it for like myself. And if I can, I'd love to cook up a bunch of them for like family or friends or whatever. I think that'd be really cool.
Huh. So, of course, what is your favorite way to prepare catfish?
My favorite? Well, just basically fry. Like I make a really good like dry like rub. Like I'll like let it soak in buttermilk for a while, and then I'll take it out. Like I'll only do it for like probably like 2 hours in buttermilk, because catfish is really absorbent of just like different I guess like seasonings and spices and like liquids like buttermilk or hot sauce. Like it will absorb it and it'll get too tender, and then like when you fry it, it'll kind of fall apart. Yep. Oh.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
But the first time I did it, like the first time I ever caught a fish, cleaned it, prepared it, and cooked it, I perfect. It was amazing. Like I had a really good batter. It was just, it's fire. And
so do you do like a cornmeal batter?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, cornmeal, baking powder, a lot of seasoning, and then I let the fish marinate in like buttermilk and Frank's Red Hot.
Sure.
Yeah. Like I like a little spicy. I'm a big spice guy.
I'm curious, like you said that it was the first one that you did, it was just perfect. I always worry about doing something perfect the first time, because I'm like, you're going to have to chase that every single time.
Yep. That's so true. Like an instance of that, like I make a really mean gumbo, and the first one I did, like the first time I ever done it, I was like, I even shared it with a friend. This is the first time I done it, and they were like, "This is fire," and I'm like, "It was fire." And then the second time I did it, it wasn't as good the second time, and then the third time I did it, I burned it. I decided to leave it on like a low. Then I went to work. I left my oven on, and I went to work, and I come home. It's just destroyed. It's burnt. It wasn't like on fire or anything. It just overcooked, and it was just so burnt and charred. I was like, no, why did I do that? But then the fourth time, I got it really good. Yeah, I'm gonna be scared the next time I make it, but it probably won't be too bad.
One of my favorite things, of course, to do is like make my own broth. If you like like smoke a chicken or something like that, and then you save the bones, of course, you put them in the freezer, and then whenever you need like a good chicken stock. But I've done it where I just wasn't paying enough attention, and like I will boil that or whatever, simmer it for a good 24 hours, and that really that gets it. I did this one time where I just kind of left it. You leave it overnight, of course, and that's usually fine, but I must have had the temperature up just too much that it ended up like boiling off all the water, and then I come down and it's just like, why does it look like there's smoke coming off of the thing? It's just not great. But yeah, at least that taught me the lesson to always be very like wake up in the middle of the night and go and check on it. But no, there's something about that, like you're always trying to find how to make something that was perfect at one point even more perfect, which is just human nature, I guess. But I'm curious though about like the nature of fishing, because there's a few fishermen that I know that are just like not as concerned about actually catching things as it is about just having that quiet and being out on the lake or the stream or whatever, wherever it is. You're not going to say, but
I won't say.
Just having a sense of like doing something purposeful, but having it without a result, even possibly,
So when I'm out there, if I don't catch anything, obviously I'm going to be like a little like, whatever. But you know what? There's the phrase like the worst day of fishing is better than the best day at work or whatever.
Sure.
And for me, it really is a form of meditation. Like it really, or like prayer, or whatever you want to call it. Like it really does. It really does teach you patience as well, because patience is a virtue. So that really helps me in life, just like my own personal life, but also helps me with my music too. Like it helps me just understand. Hey, I'm upset about where I am right now. If I'm upset, it's okay, because maybe things will. You just got to get over that hill. And while you're on that hill, try to ground yourself and understand like this is all part of the process. If you're out there, you gotta be patient. They call it fishing, not catching.
Right.
And fishing is really like inspired my music. Like I make tropical raps, and like I do like very tropical sounding music, and it's kind of hard to do that. Get the inspo and like the motivation to do that when you're in landlocked Illinois. Fishing really has brought out just like new things I'd never thought about, or like vibes that I was really trying to conjure up. Like I've been really experimenting with like exotica and like lounge music to intertwine into my music, into my beats and whatever. Yeah, it's just something so peaceful about all of that. Like I grew up like just like hanging out on like all kinds of streams, lakes, and water. Like, have you ever heard of Turkey Run?
Sure. Yeah.
Turkey, I've been going there my entire life. And I remember like when I was a kid, like there was always just like going on those trails is really amazing, but then also like tubing down the river. It's so beautiful. That was some of the first times I would like hear reggae for the first time, because like at the boat rental place or like the raft rental place, whatever, they'd be playing Bob Marley and all kinds of like really cool like reggae music, deep cuts and whatnot. Those moments really made me who I am today. And like the Tiki Head or whatever, like all those things kind of amalgamated to what I do today. But also my family, like in the past, has had a really big music background, and that kind of just fell onto me. And so I've been adding these vibes that I've acquired from my childhood and like my life. Yeah, it's just never been the same ever since. Like I can't imagine making like just regular rock and roll. Like I love rock and roll, but at the same time I'm like, it doesn't have the same vibe of what I could get from like hanging out in a big body of water, whether that be a stream, like going down a stream, or just hanging out on a lake fishing, or truthfully just hanging out by the ocean, like hearing the waves crash, and then also wanting to like do all kinds of stuff like fish or surf. I like surfing. Like I just got back from Florida like a couple weeks ago, and every time I try to go to Florida, I love going to the East Coast instead of like the Gulf of Mexico or America or whatever. But the East Coast is great because they got really cool waves there, like near like the Melbourne or Daytona Beach area. Sick waves. And every time I've been down there, I always try to catch some waves while I'm there. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I were living by the ocean and I was just surfing and I was fishing, I don't know if I would be doing the music I'd be really doing today. Truthfully, my music has just been kind of like an escape to what I really love in my life here in landlocked Illinois. I probably wouldn't be even trying to focus on my music as much, but now that I'm in it and I'm here and a tiki has stared at me, I kind of just am in it now. Like as much as I would love to surf professionally, I just make music for the surfer professionals,
Brayden, thank you so much for coming all the way out here and telling me about your song Tiki Head and the Champaign-Urbana music scene, and of course your favorite non-musical things. So I appreciate you coming all the way out here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me out here, man. Like it's been a lot of fun. You got a sick studio, and like I always appreciate that. Like when someone's got a sick ass man cave studio, just all kinds of really cool stuff in here. Obviously the viewers can't see it, but take my word for it, it's sick. And but thank you for having me, man. Thank you for listening to Champaign is Also a Band podcast. This is Where Are The Flamingos, reminding you, great music is out there. Go find it where you live.
That's a wrap.
Champagne is also a band.
You almost have an NPR voice. It's so good.
South Peter on the inside.
Yeah, I'm gonna be scared the next time I make it, but it probably won't be too bad.